Turning now to the terrifying crash landing of a Delta Airlines plane in Toronto. You see next to me the plane upside down on the snowy tarmac. 80 people were on board when the aircraft caught fire and flipped over. Thankfully, everyone survived, but at least 18 people were injured. BBC News reporter Nadine Yousif is at the airport with the latest.
So I'm standing here at Toronto Pearson International Airport, where some flights have since resumed after a plane had crashed earlier on the runway. It was a Delta Airlines flight flying from Minneapolis to Toronto. It had crashed upon landing and had flipped over on its belly. Now we know that all 80 people aboard are accounted for. Authorities said that there were no fatalities reported and people were able to evacuate safely. We do know, however, that 18 people were injured. Now, as for the cause of the crash, that is still under investigation. We don't know much. Authorities have told us that when the plane landed, the runway was dry. There was some inclement weather yesterday, a heavy snowstorm in Toronto, but we were told that when the plane landed, the runway was dry. We were also told that crosswind conditions did not play a factor in why the plane had crashed in that way. So we're still waiting to hear more. But in the meantime, as the investigation is ongoing, parts of the runway at the airport have been closed, which is causing some further delays and cancellations of flights. And so authorities are telling passengers to expect more of that in the coming days as they work to figure out what has happened here.
All right, just remarkable. Joining us now is Steven Wallace. He's the former director of accident investigations for the FAA, the perfect person to speak to at a moment like this, Steven. You had 80 people on board, all survived. Help us understand the safety measures that have to be in place for an outcome like this.
Well, I think you have to give full credit, as every expert has, to the crash fire rescue team there at Toronto Pearson Airport. I mean, it seems that they were there immediately, and now I just now saw this video that shows that clearly it hit very hard, and that there was immediately a fire. So there may have been a slight element of luck in that the wing full of fuel broke off, and so. But the efforts of the crash fire rescue team at that airport are absolutely terrific and instrumental in the 100% survival rate.
And I think seeing that dramatic video, hearing what you're saying, it speaks to how important it is to follow safety procedures, and any small thing can be the difference between life and death. You mentioned the wing snapping off. Things like the construction of these aircraft are also a part of the success story. And then, while there were some people who recorded themselves getting out the plane, there's also another opportunity to say, don't do that. Don't grab your bags. Don't record anything. Just get to safety. What else led to this?
Well, absolutely right. So in the 1980s, the world's aviation authorities went through considerable rulemaking measures to improve the survivability. So the survivability in an accident, and particularly, so things like 16G dynamic pulse seats that were tested so they could survive the impact pulse of a typical crash. And this airplane had all those benefits, and also many things that were sort of irrelevant that had to do with rapid deploying escape slides. Obviously, this is an accident that proves what we all know, that accidents never happen like they're supposed to. So this airplane ended up upside down. The slides, the rapid deploying slides, that's all irrelevant. I would point out here that there was an accident. This is a lucky airport, because in August of 2005, Air France crashed a Airbus 340 there, and 309 people got out of that aircraft without a life-threatening injury, while the plane was completely destroyed by fire. And the Transportation Safety Board in that finding said, attributed it to unfavorable weather conditions and poor landing decisions, sort of a little bit without prejudging what happened in this accident. Very much those will be areas of focus of this investigation. And that was an accident 20 years ago.
Yeah, and our thanks to the crew helping people survive. Steven Wallace, great to have your insight joining us this morning from Alexandria in Virginia.